I hate jogging. It's true. I hate it. If you are a jogger, this video may be offensive. Just a warning. Talking about with a hopefully a rational argument for not jogging. Okay. If you are interested in losing weight, many people jog. If some people just like to jog to get outside, and that would probably be my only argument for jogging. But let's talk about why I am anti-jogging, or very much would oppose somebody doing this type of activity for any weight loss or even just general fitness. Okay, so first of all, let me again acknowledge what jogging could be good for: to get outside and run around. Jogging on a treadmill, I would argue, is one of the most useless activities there is. So I know that's going to be offensive again to some, but again, let me just explain myself. So the positive is you could get outside. The negative sides of jogging are thus: number one, you are just bouncing up and down. So as opposed to running, which is more about horizontal displacement and covering ground, so putting more force into the ground and moving more horizontally across the ground, propulsion, right? Higher propulsion. Jogging is more vertical. And so you have more of this bouncing type effect. And so a lot of people say, well, jogging hurts my knees, or people who are overweight, or if you're a bigger person, if the slower you go, the more vertical you're going to be bouncing up and down more than likely. Okay. And so, yeah, you can have running technique, of course, that's a little bit more, it's a less vertical oscillation, right? It looks more like a speed walker type of thing. But there's this weird, pace that occurs even on a treadmill around 4.5 miles per hour, where it's like, well, do I run? Do I jog? It'd be better just to slow down and walk. If you're outside, it'd be better just to slow down and walk fast than for your body and for your joints. Because when we walk, we're not in the air. You transfer one foot to the other. And so when you jog, though, you're actually in the air and you land on yourself, at least one leg, right? And the more bouncy you are and the slower you go, the more bouncy you probably will be. You start to beat your joints up a lot more. Okay. So that's number one. There's a lot more vertical oscillation, a lot more joint wear and tear by jogging. Number two, it's going to take you longer to burn the calories you want to burn by jogging than if you ran. Okay. So let me give you an example of running. Let's say if you say, I'm going to run a mile as fast as I can. That's probably going to be a run. Now, you might pace yourself at times, but you're still going to be running. You're more about trying to accomplish a distance in a time that's a quicker time. You're going to burn more calories, likely burn more calories in that type of activity than you would bouncing around for 3 miles. And so think about the total amount of wear and tear that's going to be on joints by going back to point one, bouncing vertically up and down, and the extended period of time in which you do so. That's going to be harder on your joints than running really fast for a mile. Get the same caloric expenditure. Okay. So because jogging is a slower paced activity, it's going to require a longer time, a longer duration to do this. Now, I would argue that you could do long duration things. You don't always have to run really hard. You could, but do it on things that are a little more joint friendly, like a bike, a stationary bike, a recumbent bike, an elliptical trainer, something like that would be better to do more of like a list training, right? Low intensity, steady state type of training. Okay. Jogging, though, not a great idea. Walking fast, a brisk pace walk, much better for the body. Again, because you transfer your weight from one to the other. You might have to spend more time, right? Total time walking, but it's going to be more pleasant and it's going to be easier on the joints. All right. So that's number two. It's not a very time efficient way of burning calories, and then feeds into number one, which is you're going to beat yourself up for longer periods of time. Number three, and I know people will argue with me about this, and rightly so, is it's not very enjoyable, right? Most people don't enjoy jogging. And some days you might feel good, and some days you may not. It depends on the surface you're on, what you have to look at. But for a lot of people, it's a discouragement. Running on the concrete, right, beats you up faster. It's just not enjoyable, okay? And some of the enjoyment has to do with the type of shoes you have or don't have. And that'll kind of bleed into the next point. But if you have the wrong type of shoe for the type of runner you are, or if you're a heavier person and you have the wrong type of shoe, you will beat yourself up faster and therefore become more miserable. Because jogging is a lot of times associated with fitness, if you don't like jogging, and this is again this is a leap in logic, but I have seen this, is people just don't want to exercise. Like, well, I don't want to jog. Well, I didn't say you had to. There's lots of other options. I think that's less so than it used to be, but there's still this perception. So jogging is just not as enjoyable. If you want to enjoy the outdoors and exercise, walk. That would walk fast, or run fast if you can still be outside, but run fast. So that's, that would be number 3, is it's not enjoyable. Number 4, jogging done right requires 2 extra inputs. Number 1, I mentioned the shoes. So you have to have you have to have the right shoes to jog, because you're going to beat yourself up jogging in place, usually on a hard surface. And so that's going to be, it's going to require some investment on your part to buy the proper shoes. And the other one is going to seem a little strange, but many people aren't strong enough to jog. If you're going to fall on yourself from flight and do a lot of it for a long period of time, you have to be strong in order to tolerate that kind of force and stress on the body. And so if you have the wrong shoes and you're weak, your legs aren't strong, and even your upper body posture starts to fail because you're weak. I see this when I did running gait analyses with people. That's when injuries start to arise. You get tired, you fall on yourself. Next, so point number 5, jogging is an incredibly inefficient way to burn calories. I mentioned this already before, but it also is not, and related to that, is not a good way to lose weight. I'd highly recommend lifting weights, again, running fast, doing something more high-intensity interval training. And the reason it's not a good way to lose weight is twofold. This is the final point here. Final points, I guess, sub-points. Number 1 is, again, doesn't burn a lot of calories, but when you lose weight, if you do lose weight with jogging, and you're not doing weight training in particular, which is what many do, you will lose lean mass, muscle mass, along with losing fat mass. And so when some regain is inevitable, when that occurs, if you've lost lean mass and potentially muscle mass, and those are different things, you could replace it with some fat mass. So if you keep doing this kind of weight loss cycle over time using jogging, you can actually see a negative movement in your body composition, which is not helpful when you're looking at long-term weight maintenance. So you can actually become weaker as well over time by doing jogging. Now you can supplement that by doing weight training, but most of the joggers I have seen, many times they don't do that. And so they just do jogging only. And so again, that's kind of set yourself up for failure in the long term. Okay. Along with that is it's very difficult, in my experience, working with people, for people to lose weight just doing cardio in general, but certainly jogging falls in that category. And a lot of it has to do with jogging takes a long time for, like we talked about earlier in one of the points, is it takes a long activity to do that, enough calories that are meaningful. So, and during that time though, you become hungry, right? And so if you're not doing a good job maintaining your nutrition while you're doing this running, you end up being very hungry at the end of a jog. And so consuming the calories that you burn during the jog. So you just replace them. So in other words, you're not having enough energy density, energy expenditure occur. The density of energy expenditure is not good enough that you burn the calories, and you burn a lot of calories in a hurry, and you have a reasonable amount of hunger. Well, if you don't burn a lot of calories in a long period of time, you're just going to set yourself up to be really hungry later, right? Because you've been running for a long period of time and jogging for a long period of time. You're going to have a higher likelihood of consuming the calories, not very many calories, but consuming the calories you just burned. Okay. So those are 5 reasons why I am against jogging in general for fitness and in terms of weight loss. It's just not time efficient. It's harder on the body. There's better ways to do things. There's better ways. If you just want to enjoy the activity outside, there's better ways to do that. That's easier on the body. It actually has the requirements in order to be successful at jogging. You need to spend some money on some good shoes. You need to invest in weight training. You might as well just weight train and run really fast at that point, and do some walking recreationally to enjoy the time outside. Okay, so that's my suggestions on jogging. If you disagree with that, leave a comment below. Like the video. Hopefully you are like me and firmly against jogging. Certainly have a bias, but these observations I think they're rooted in my experience in doing biomechanical analyses of jogging, working with people over the many years I've done so, and the research literature we have on caloric expenditure. And so this isn't just my bias coming through, and I'll fully admit I have one against jogging. but I think it's rooted in some legitimate evidence as well. So if you haven't already as well, subscribe to my channel for more videos on nutrition, exercise, and training science, and I will see you in the next video.